What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Boosty Built production. Today on the agenda, we have a K-swapped EK, or some like to call it an EJ, an EK coupe, EJ coupe. This thing has a clutch issue that we got to diagnose and fix. From what the guy has been telling me, I'm leaning towards a bad clutch disc. Those springs on those clutch discs like to pop out and break. So let's actually diagnose it and see what it is. But he actually drove it here. He didn't tow it here. He started it he put it in gear before the car turned on, and then he starts the car and drives it. It's kind of like a way to limp a car to your next destination. Maybe I can show you guys how to do that, because I got to do it to pull into this driveway, because my driveway is an uphill and there's no way I can pull it in by myself. So I'll show you if I can. I'll see if I can show you guys how I do that and how you can limp a car home one day. But yeah, this is the K-swapped EK. I noticed that this thing has a little bit of play. So all that, you see how that back and forth play? Courtesy of Boosty Built, I'm going to fix like little things while I'm in here. And kind of like dehack and fix a few things that I like to do when I'm in here. I'm kind of picky. So this little bit of slop, is going to bother the hell out of me. So I'm going to try to see if I can get that fixed for him, see what it is, if it's something that needs to get tightened. More than likely, these kind of style shifters, all the bolts kind of loosen up from vibration, so we might put a little dab of blue Loctite on here and kind of fix it. So I'm hoping something's just loose, but yeah, that play right there is annoying. But stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to drive it with a bad clutch pedal, or like a pedal that goes to the floor, like if you have a bad master, so you guys can limp it to your next destination if this ever happens to anyone. So I'll show you right now. All right, so I opened the shop door so I can pull this thing straight in. And I actually, the way my lift works, it's got to be done in reverse. So I got to reverse it in, but just to show you guys how to do that. All right, so hopefully this will help somebody out in the future. But like I said, my driveway's an uphill, so I got to drive it in. So what you do is you put it in gear, put it in first now, still depress the clutch all the way, because sometimes you have a switch there. And then I'm going to try to do this with one hand because I have to steer to the left. But this basically, you crank it, and the car starts, and look, it just starts rolling forward. And then what now I can do is just give it gas, and now I can just pull it in, just like that. See, I'm still in gear, and then when you want to stop, you have to hit the brake and just turn it off like that. Now it was just able to get into my shop, and I did not need anybody to help me push it up the uphill. So, like I said, this can get you to the nearest parking lot, or even to your house if it's like a 5-10 minute drive and you want to limp it home and not pay, $200-300 for a tow. Just start it in gear, and then as soon as you're in first and you're accelerating, you kind of just time the shifts. You synchronize them. So you'll rev first up, 3,000, and then pull it out of gear, and then slightly give it a little pressure, and then it'll go into second on its own once the shifts are timed right. It's like, you got to have done it to understand it, but it doesn't really hurt the car. You have to know how to time it right. But like I said, it works. To some people that can't handle it, that don't think they can do it, just get the car towed. But other guys that are hood rats and they want to get it home, they don't want to pay $200-300 for a tow, that's how you do it. Just while you're accelerating in first, pull it out, let the RPMs come down slowly. As soon as it times the gear and synchronizes the second gear engagement, boom, it'll just go right in. And then as you're accelerating second, 2, 3, 4,000, pull it out a second, put a little pressure towards third. As soon as the RPM drops down, it's going to synchronize, boom, and it'll pop in third. Then you could be in third cruising for, a couple minutes till you get home. And then the same thing is when you pull up to a light, you're going to pull it out, let it go to neutral. You're going to pull up to the light. It's going to be red. You're going to turn the car off, right? You're going to put it in first again, and then you're going to start the car, and it's going to roll forward, and you're going to pull it up just like I am right now. And there you go. And then you start it off to stop. So hopefully that helps somebody in the future for like an emergency situation. So one thing I noticed also being down here is that this clutch adjustment is kind of off a little bit, like for my liking. It's got way too much free play, over an inch. I don't think you need that much free play. So he could have been driving on a bad free play for a while and wore out the disc, but this will get adjusted when the new clutch goes on. So right now what I'm going to do is pull the trans off and see what we find. I'm hoping to find like a bad clutch disc, like the spring popping out of the disc. It's kind of a common problem on these Exedi OEM clutches. I don't know what clutch is in here, but if it's like a sprung style, that's kind of what happens. The spring kind of pops out. I don't know how or what causes it, but it just happens. But I will actually adjust it right now just to get the free play out of here and make sure that it still won't go into gear. Because if I adjust it and it's back to normal, then all it was a simple clutch adjustment. It wasn't set right the first time. And that it just needed an adjustment, and now it'll get into gear and he could drive it like normal. So we'll find out if it was just an adjustment or actually a clutch issue right now. So I know it's not hydraulics because as you can see. Here, man, you want to get in the car and just pump the clutch for me? I'll put the hood prop up. In and out, I'll kind of show them what it's doing over here. So first thing you want to check for is that the slave is moving in and out. So you know it's not hydraulic related. So I go for it. See that? It's moving in and out. So we know the hydraulics is working. Now, if the pedal was stuck to the ground, we would know it's like hydraulic related or something. Same with like if this wasn't moving the way it should. So I know that it's moving in and out. So I know it's trying to disengage the pressure plate. So I know it's not a hydraulic problem. So it could be an adjustment. It might not be extending the way it should. Like hit it all the way again. See, like if I adjust it, I'll be able to get more throw than that. And it might actually disengage. So could be in a clutch adjustment issue or the actual disc. But from the symptoms of the customer, what he's telling me, I'm leaning towards the clutch disc. Because like he said, all of a sudden it just started doing this. So if it was an adjustment, it would be slowly over time harder and harder for him to get into gear. But yeah, I just realized that on camera. There's a compression fitting for his fuel feed line to his filter. That's not good. I don't like compression fittings for that kind of stuff. Trip fuel or brake lines, that's a no-no. But that's the way it was when it came in. So, and also that leakage you see right there is from this breather. They get soaked and wet, and they start leaking. And then sometimes it's the valve cover gasket corners. So I'll let him know that and see if he wants me to address that. It does look a little oily over here and wet by that valve cover gasket. So yeah, while it's in here, I give it the Boosty treatment where I kind of go over like nuts and bolts and things around the area of the clutch job. Like while I'm doing the clutch, if I notice other things while I'm doing the clutch, I'll fix them. So like I said, that shifter, that play it has, that's all play. It's driving me nuts already, so I'll try to fix that for him. So just courtesy on my part for my customers. I take care of them. All right, so I adjusted the clutch pedal to a tiny bit of free play, like I like, a 1/4 inch. So I'm getting way more throw out of the clutch, and I'm trying to put it into gear, and it still won't go into gear. So it's not a clutch adjustment issue. It is the actual clutch disc. So let's pull this transmission apart, and let's see what happened. Like I said, I'm diagnosing it as a spring in the clutch popping out, just because I kind of know my cars. I know my shit when it comes to these. So let's get it on the lift, and let's try to get the trans off and show you what happened. All right, so before I get started, I like to do a scan so I know what tools I'm going to need. So I already know I'm going to need either 10 or 11 for these T-bolts. I'm going to need a 6mm Allen key for the shifter bracket. I'm going to need 12 mil for the slave cylinder here, 17s and 19s for the motor mount brackets, 17s for the motor to trans. He said he's on the Type S axles. He actually, one of the boots was shooting out grease, so he bought some axles in here. So I need a 36mm axle socket. So I'll kind of like scan and see what kind of bolts I need. I'm sorry, sockets I need for the bolts and tools, and I'll put them all on the cart so I can try to make my job easier and faster. So let's get started. La-da-dee, la-la-da-dee, la-la. So one thing I noticed for the two slave bolts, one's long and one's short. I don't like that. That bothers me. He's going to get the original 2 long bolts. I like to keep OEM hardware. So that's all the 12 mils, that's all the 10 mils, and then in there's all the 14s and 17s. The socket size I'm talking about that fits them. So those would be M6s, those would be M8s. These are all original OEM Honda bolts. So I like to stock and keep all these. Obviously, they're used. Sometimes when the customer's really picky, I'll buy all these new for them. But like I said, it's better than having 2 used wrong length. So you're going to get 2 used of the right length original ones. Bam! And you guys are expecting music right here. Well, guess what? Ain't no music in my video. So we know why now, why he bought the axles, because look at that. There's no boot. You can actually see the tripod of the axle. So kind of made a little mess there. We'll clean that up. I got about 4, 8, 12 cases of brake cleaner. So I keep these in stock because I'm used to cleaning stuff, and I don't know, I like my stuff clean. So not only will I replace his axle, but also clean this whole mess. Yep. And music would be playing right now, but that'd be like everybody else, copying them and just playing music that everyone else does. Anyway, up top, I'm on the bottom. I'm basically removing everything I need to get the trans off. Axles, half shaft, motor to trans bolts, the top motor mount, the shifter cables and whatnot, just all the little miscellaneous stuff. So what did I tell you guys? It was the spring. I know my shit. I've done so many. Can I get, oh, look. The spring came off the disc. I don't know why these do that, but look. Here's zoom out. The spring came off the disc. Let me actually tear it into it. Let me tear it apart all the way and show you guys. But I was right. Disc failed. So we're gonna get the clutch off, but wow. This thing is so wet. So wet and caked up over here. So, like I said, 12 cases of brake cleaner. It's gonna end up brake cleaning and drying all this oil that's seeping everywhere. Like, and then down here they have a broken bolt. So sometimes I like to reuse these two bottom bolts that go through the oil pan to the trans. So I'll try to vice grip that one out because I have a little bit hanging out. I'll heat that up, use a vice grip, try to get it out. But yeah, I can't put this back together with all these leaks on it. Oh, just like I suspected. Come check it out. Bring it over here. So this spring goes inside. Well, this one goes inside there. It's a dual spring. They all have it, and it goes in there. So what happens is, as you press the clutch, it depresses this diaphragm and this pressure plate and disengages the clutch. Now, if this gets wedged back here, I don't know if you can see that close. You can zoom in. Now, if that spring gets wedged back there, and I try to push, it's gonna hit the spring. These diaphragm fingers will hit the spring and won't let it disengage. I don't know why these break like this. Maybe it's the way people drive, because these springs kind of have some absorption, and maybe it's just rocking back and forth from the way people drive. But these are almost down to the rivets. It's literally almost touching the rivets. I don't think this is a name brand clutch. I don't really see anything. I'd have to like clean this off and see if I see a brand. Let me clean that off and see if we see a brand real quick. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe an eBay one? I don't see a brand, but I think this eBay one is like Clutch Pro off Amazon or eBay, if I'm not mistaken, dude. Seen them before. But anyways, we'll need a new clutch kit, and this thing should be back on the road. That is really wet back there. You see that? So we might toss the rear main seal. It's not we might. We will toss the rear main seal on here. I at least stock 1 or 2 at all times. I mean, this thing's coming. I mean, the leaks are starting from up top too and working their way down. But since we're already in here, to get the trans off while doing a clutch job, like, you might as well do a rear main seal while you're in here. That's kind of like one of those things, like, you're already in there. So we'll pop the flywheel off. We'll do a rear main seal. The clutch kit, instead of resurfacing this, for an extra $100, I get a flywheel. And to resurface these is anywhere from 60 to 80. So for, you know, $100, a new flywheel with the clutch kit that I get from ValexRacing.com, it's worth it. So I'm going to get him a whole new clutch kit, pressure plate, disc, and flywheel. I'll pop a new rear main seal on here. I'll clean up all these oil leaks with brake cleaner. I'll dry them all, and then I'll start the car back up and see if I can see where the oil leak is up there. If it's a valve cover gasket, I'll recommend him to do that. Maybe I'll do that for him. But yeah, we got to stop this leak because it's everywhere. Like, it's just everywhere is wet. Everywhere is wet. I don't like that. So. Look at that, guys. Look at the top part, how dry it is now, and how dirty and crusty it is. We take that extra step, guys. Since we're already in here, I'm not going to touch that oily, greasy thing and pop it back on. And look how dirty. This is why I use gloves, because it's so dirty and grimy. Now, you know, a couple cans of brake clean later, it'll get dry like that. And then look how much I clean this area. Completely dry now. It's all dry. You see that? That's all it is, guys. A couple cans of brake cleaner goes a long way. It's all dry. Now we can see where it's actually leaking from. Look at this. That one extra step that I do. Look at that. From a grimy, leaky, soaked with oil transmission case to a clean looking RSX Type S transmission. Completely dry and leak free. Look at that. You can see all the dirt that's been coming out. You can see all the brake cleaner I used. That's all it is. Some brake cleaner, some elbow grease. That's the courtesy I do with my clutch jobs. Like, if I see your trans all grimy and leaky, I'm not gonna want to touch it and get my gloves dirty. I'm gonna be able to lift that trans up, pop it on the car, clean, dirt free. And then for the future, if he has any leaks, it'd be easy to spot the leaks because now everything is dry. So, you know, look at that. All right, so we're driving to Valex Racing. It's a local performance shop that stocks a bunch of Honda stuff. Check out his website. Fortunate for me, I'm local to him, so I can just pull up and grab it, but he ships. So if you guys need anything, brake line tugs, manifolds, K-tune parts, Exetti parts, like pretty much everything, check out his website, valexracing.com. We're going to pull up there now to get this clutch same day because this is a customer's daily driver, so we need to get this done today. So we pulled the trans out, found out it needed a clutch, and the problem was the clutch, so we're buying a whole new clutch kit and an Exetti OEM replacement from Valex Racing. We're going to pick that up now and pop it in the car and get it back on the road in one day turnaround. We're here at Valex Racing, getting the clutch kit, because like I said, this guy needed the car today. It's his daily, so he stocks it. He's local. Fortunate for me, he's local. Check him out, guys. Valex Racing. This guy's pretty much got everything you would need. And some of you might know who he is. All right, so we got the Exetti OEM replacement clutch kit there. Some part store axles because we got to turn this car around in the same day. So we're going to put those on there for now. These are the EP3 Civic Si. The part number for the R6 base 5-speed and EP3 Si 5-speed were the same axles. So that's how the part stores kind of have them in the computer. So now what we're going to do is replace the rear main seal. I dried all this up and it was leaking, so this is my little trick. I use a Phillips screw, and then you can just pull this out, and that'll be the easiest way to do it. Got that new Exetti OEM replacement clutch kit on there. People ask me, how do you bolt the trans on so good, so perfect every time? This is it, guys. I used an OEM input shaft when I broke it second gear, so I never threw this away from a customer trans I built. I saved it, and this thing just makes it perfect. With that right there, I can lift the trans by myself and pop it right on, and it'll go in like butter. Some guys like to use these and that's all they have. They work, but they're kind of annoying. Like I feel like the input shaft does a way better job of centering than this does. But if you center this nicely, a certain way, you can get that same result. But if you want my tip, get an input shaft, get a hold of one of these, and use that, man. Like this thing works great. Look at that. Slides in and out like butter. I got the clutch on, I got the trans on, and then I noticed that there's a crack right here. And that bolt, that rusted looking bolt, it's not really holding it down tight, so it's literally just on one bolt here and this rusty one. There's supposed to be one on the bottom that's missing, and then the mount's actually like cracked over here, so this mount's about to give out at any time, so I definitely have to let him know. I don't stock that mount here. I wouldn't have that bracket. He's gonna have to get it. And I just realized that one says Hotsport. This one has no name on it on the top. How about the back one? No, back one says Hotsport. They're probably Hotsport mounts, but I don't know why this one has been changed or the Hotsport's been shaved off or whatever. Maybe it's not even a Hotsport one. But anyway, we need that bracket eventually. You know, I don't have that here. This is his daily driver, so he's going to have to take that home and get that bracket ASAP and bring it back. I'm going to try to raise it up and see if I can put a bolt that's missing on the bottom real quick. So two things I noticed. That bolt that's going all the way through, it's not supposed to go all the way through. There's a threaded part on top that's probably about that deep of a nut onto the frame rail, so they went all the way through probably because the top was stripped, so they just went all the way through. And then yep, like I suspected, that bolt was missing and it's off by a little bit, so I got to lift this up on my pole jack, see if I can stick a bolt in there for now. Hopefully the threads ain't rusted or beat in there. So yeah, that mount's, oh my god, look at that angle of that mount. It's like completely, like it's sagging down. So check it out. Go up on the pole jack this way. Look, as we're moving up on the pole jack, keep going, keep going. It's moving the trans up. Stop. Boom, look at that. Now we have the bolt lined up. And now look at how straight that is. It's not sagging. So missing that bolt caused that bracket to freaking fail and crack. So that sucks, but we'll put that bolt in at least to get him out here. And then I'll tell him to get a bracket right away. Oh man, that looks kind of... So I was able to welt this crack for the customer that I forgot to film here. So what I circled here is the crack that I ended up welding, and then I ended up putting a bolt on the bottom. I was able to thread in a bolt on the bottom. I had to actually insert a time cert. So I drilled that strip thread out, put a time cert in there, and I was able to thread a bolt on the bottom. So all three motor mount bracket bolts were utilized. That crack was welded, so that thing stiffened up and it was ready to rock. Sorry I didn't get to film that, guys. I got in the zone and started working. And then in this next clip, you're going to see that the car's already running and ready to rock for the customer today. Same day turnaround. You trying to hide? We got the owner here. I found a leak on his bottom the radiator drain cock, so I fixed that. But obviously fixing a drain cock, you lose coolant, so I got coolant going back in it. I'm bleeding it. And then we're trying to figure out the shifter slop. It has a lot of slop in this hybrid shifter, and I think it's the cables. They're like no name brand cables. They're like the K-Tune race knockoffs. They're not engraved K-Tune on here. I don't know if you can see. There's no engraving of K-Tune. The real K-Tune ones have an engraving right here. I got a set to show. So do you see how they say K-Tune right there? That's how you know the real. So there's so much slop in those. And that hybrid racing shifter plus this equals a lot of slop. I'm not a big fan of the hybrid ones. Some guys are. I like the K-Tune box or like the OEM one. But we were trying to fix that slop for him, the flop for him, but we can't. So for now, we're just gonna recommend him to get some OEM Type S cables or the K-Tune Race, not these Amazon specials. And then I should get rid of some of that.